Yeah, what up? Welcome in. It is the Nail in the Coffin podcast. I'm your host, Rayson Ball. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm fired up on a Throwdown Thursday. My boy Ronald Acun got plunked last night. I'll tell you why it's bad for baseball. I'm fired up. And also my AFC East predictions for the upcoming NFL season. It's all coming up on today's edition of the Nail in the Coffin podcast. So let's start right off the bat talking about last night's Braves-Marlins series finale, in which the Braves, the Braves swept the lowly Miami Marlins. Man, I'm fired up. I mean, I'm a huge Braves fan. I'm a huge Braves fan, as you can tell by the hat, clearly. And I'm just fired up about what happened last night in that game. It's just bad for baseball. I mean, I'm gonna give you my honest opinions. Of course, I'm a little biased. I'll admit it. I'm a little biased because I'm a Braves fan. But I would say the same thing if this happened to Bryce Harper or Mike Trout. I just feel like it's bad for baseball. You got Ronald Acuña Jr. who's swinging one of the hottest bats in the MLB right now. Over the last 8 games, minus last night, he's just been raking. 8 home runs, almost a 500 batting average in the last 8 games, 16 hits. I mean, the kid is just unbelievable. And he's smoked the Marlins. He's absolutely smoked the Marlins in that series. Hit 4 home runs, 3 leadoff home runs. Just destroyed them, embarrassed them. But this is no way. I hate the unwritten rule in baseball that if a player or someone hits a home run, I don't care if they showboat, I don't care if they toss their bat, I don't care if they take their sweet time running around the bases. I don't care. You don't throw at a guy. Okay, you don't throw at a guy. I mean, that's just bad for baseball. What if he would have broken his elbow? What if he'd have broken his arm? I mean, is that good for baseball? I mean, it's certainly not fair to the 20-year-old kid who's playing the best baseball of his life. Excuse me. It's not fair. I mean, how about this? How about you pitch better, Miami? How about you throw someone out there who doesn't groove one down the middle to the best hitter right now in the game at this point in time? How about you throw him an off-speed pitch? Don't throw one right down the middle, fastball right down the middle, and then be mad when he hits it 450 feet. How about throw a better pitch, Miami? How about that? I'm fired up. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, if he breaks his arm or breaks his elbow, I mean, the Braves season's done. I mean, they're right there. I mean, they're first place in their division by 2 games. They're 1 game off the lead for the best record in the National League. They're playing tremendous right now. Now, it might not matter because the AL is dominant, and I'm sure I'll get to that some point in the future. But regardless, this is a young, upcoming team that's gone through a rebuild similar to the Houston Astros went through a few years ago. And they're young and upcoming. And to think about Ronald Acuna Jr., if he would have broken his arm or his elbow last night and would have been out for 60 games or 100 games or whatever it would have been, it's just terrible. For baseball, you want the best talent out there. You do. I love the fact that Bryce Harper is in the Braves division with the Nationals. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I was bummed to see Giancarlo Stanton go to the Yankees. I loved watching him play. I love to watch Bryce Harper play. I know every time we play the Nationals, the Braves, I know Bryce Harper's going to hit at least 1 home run. And he usually hits 2 or 3. And I love it. I think it's great for baseball. It wasn't Bryce Harper that a couple years ago said, "Let's make the game fun again"? Wasn't that him? I mean, I think Bryce Harper, if I'm not mistaken, has told his pitchers, Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg and the like. Excuse me. I think he's told them not to throw at hitters. Because he's told these guys, don't throw at hitters because in essence you're throwing at me. Because if Mike Trout hits a home run against the Nationals and gloats around the bases, now not the Mike Trout would because he's, he don't like to do that stuff. But anyway, but if he did, in the next pitch or the next at bat, Max Scherzer takes one to the dome of Mike Trout. Guess who the Angels pitcher is coming after next at bat? You got to know he's going to put one right in the back of Bryce Harper. So Bryce Harper's told his pitchers, don't throw at those guys. Don't throw at them because you're throwing at me. And I think it's great that he's taken that approach. I mean, the unwritten rules of baseball are just unbelievable to me. That let's look at football, for example. Let's look at football. It's a great example. Every time a wide receiver or a quarterback or a running back or a tight end even, they score a touchdown, guess what? They're celebrating. They're celebrating. I mean, it became a huge thing last year in the NFL season of these choreographed celebrations and that kind of thing. And whatever your stance on that is irrelevant, but they're celebrating because scoring a touchdown is hard in the NFL. It's hard. And for those players that score touchdowns, they've worked a lot. They put in a lot of time, and they've worked really hard to be able to do that in the National Football League. But there's no retaliation. I mean, if Gronk scores a 25-yard touchdown and spikes it, there's no retaliation. There's no retaliation. It just doesn't happen in the NFL like it does in baseball. And it's because of these unwritten rules that if Acuna hits 3 or 4 home runs, if he flips his bat, which he has done, but I'm totally for it. I'm totally for that. But if he gloats or celebrates or flips his bat, then you got to throw at him. That's not right. That's not right. Baseball is unique because it's a one-on-one matchup. Basketball is like this a little bit, but to an extent, but it's a little bit different in baseball because it's just a one-on-one, isolated matchup. Whereas, basketball, it can be one-on-one, but a lot of times it's more of a team sport and things like that. But you can get, poster dunks and stuff like that and one-on-one type things. But it's different in baseball, right? It just is. And so I think that's where this comes out of is that if you somehow win the battle of a one-on-one matchup, are you not allowed to celebrate? I mean, if a pitcher in a close, say pitcher's in the 8th inning, right, and it's a 3-2 game, runners on second and third, and a pitcher strikes out a batter, can he not pump his fist? Can he not yell and scream or do anything like that? Of course he can. We see it all the time. So with that same token, can a batter who, if in the same situation, it's a 3-2 game in the bottom of the 8th inning, runners on second and third, if that hitter jacks one, yeah, let him celebrate. Let him toss his bat. Let him strut around the bases. Of course. I loved Jose Bautista's bat flip a few years ago. I loved that. I thought it was great. I thought it was great for the game. The only person I can really relate Ronald Acuna Jr. to right now, the last person that I remember, coming up as a prospect and having kind of this much, I'll use the word hype, but kind of having this much of an impact on the game, is Yasiel Puig. Yasiel Puig came up June and July, right around that time, June of 2013. And was just he played the game a little differently. He had fun, and he celebrated, and he tossed his bat if he had a home run, and he slid, and he was bold like that, and he got a lot of pushback. But guess what? Yasiel Puig is great for the game. I love Yasiel Puig. He's great for the game. And so is Ronald Acuna. And so is Bryce Harper. And so is Mike Trout. And so are these guys that can hit the ball 450 feet out of the ballpark. So we should want them on the field. We should want them on the field. You know, if Ronald Acuna gets injured last night, the Braves don't suffer. The whole Major League Baseball suffers. Everyone suffers because you got to believe, if you're a big baseball fan, you were tuning in last night to his first at bat. You know you were, because you wanted to see if he could hit another leadoff homer. I certainly did. I was in my seat 10 minutes before first pitch because I wanted to see if Ronald Acuna could hit another leadoff homer. I certainly did. And I know the rest of the baseball world did. And I just these unwritten rules, this unwritten rule police that feels like they have to impose these stupid rules are just ridiculous in my eyes. They're just ridiculous in my eyes. And I wish that we could get to a point in baseball where a batter can hit a home run and toss his bat and strut around the bases. Or at the same token, a pitcher can strike out the side at a crucial time in the game and pump his fists and run off the field and high-five his teammates. And then have no retaliation for either side. I hope we can get to a point like that eventually. And I think we will. I watched a lot of the post-game press conferences yesterday after the game. I watched all of Jose Arena's press conference. I watched all of Don Mattingly's press conference, all of Brian Snitker, manager of the Braves, press conference. Brandon McCarthy, one of the Braves pitchers, tweeted out and said, "Garbage baseball." He said it's hard to throw one pitch and piss off two clubhouses. So good luck, Jose, dealing with the mess you've made. Brandon McCarthy. I love it. There's a graphic on you'll see on screen right now, the courtesy of Fox Sports Braves. They tweeted this out the other day, or I guess it was yesterday. They tweeted this out this morning. It looks like it. In fact, it was. You'll see it on screen right now. It's every first pitch, every first inning fastball that Jose Arena has ever thrown in his career. Okay, last night's was the fastest pitch he's ever thrown. 97.5 miles an hour. And it was also the most high and inside one he's ever thrown. The most high and inside and the fastest he's ever thrown. And after the game, Jose Arena didn't understand why the Braves reacted the way that they did. Which doesn't hold a lot of water. It doesn't hold any water. It's quite frankly a BS excuse. He knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think it came from any of the Marlins management or coaching staff. I don't even think the Marlins catcher JT Realmuto was in on it. I think based on his reaction, after Acuna was hit, I think you can tell JT Realmuto thought, "Hey, what the heck are you doing, man?" And I think it was just Jose Arena. And I think he was a classless act that could have seriously injured one of the best up and coming prospects in baseball. Arena tried to play the victim, saying that he got upset and he feels bad and feels guilty, and that he got upset because somehow it was unfair to him that he had to wait 5 days to pitch again and then come out and make one pitch. And then, I mean, it's just nonsense, if you ask me. It's nonsense, if you ask me. These unwritten rules shouldn't exist. Let the guy hit. And if you don't like him hitting, then throw better pitches. And I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to the final series with the Braves and Marlins coming up next Thursday. I'll be in my seat for all 4 games, and I'm really excited for it. But a really classless move from Jose Arena, and he's just really fortunate that Ronald Acuna was not seriously injured. CT scans and X-rays today all came back negative. Everything's normal. He is in the lineup tonight against the Rockies, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited, and I'm really relieved that he's not seriously injured, because not only would it be bad for the Braves, but it would just be bad for baseball. And so that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on the Jose Urena, Ronald Acuna stuff. Oh, I feel better now. I got that off my chest. I was fired up. Last night. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I was fired up. But I'm glad I got that off my chest. I feel better now. I want to transition into this. Been doing this the last couple of podcasts, and I'm gonna get into my AFC East predictions for the upcoming NFL season. Really interesting division for me. Not because it's kind of a foregone conclusion like it usually is. It is. The Patriots are going to win this division. But I just feel like, as most people do, that the Patriots dynasty is coming to a close. It's been 18 years of just really, really good football and very competitive football, and quite frankly, first place football. And but I do think it is coming to a close, although I do have them winning the division. So let's jump right into it. Like I said, Patriots will win this division. It's just not a great division. It's just not. However, I do see the Patriots taking a step back this season. They've lost a lot of their wide receiver core throughout the offseason. As we know, Julian Edelman will be suspended for the first 4 games of the season due to substance abuse policy. First 4 games of the season for the Pats are the Texans, at the Jaguars, at the Lions, and then home versus the Dolphins. So not a super tough schedule to begin. They do have the Texans at home, which will be interesting to see how Deshaun Watson looks in the first week of the season. But then they do got to go on the road to the Jaguars against that tough defense. So that'll be really interesting to see without Julian Edelman. But also they lost Danny Amendola. They lost Dion Lewis in their backfield. They lost Brandon Cooks, who is now playing for the LA Rams. They lost also Nate Solder, their left tackle, to the New York Giants. So they're going to look very different offensively this year. Not to mention Tom Brady. I mean, he is the GOAT, but he is 41. And so every snap, every game, every week, every month we see Tom Brady, we will continue to see his age and whether it plays a factor. It's unprecedented territory where we're at right now with Tom Brady. We had never seen a 40-year-old quarterback do what Tom Brady did last season. So is there any reason to believe he can't do it again at 41? I think he'll be fine. I do think he'll be fine. I don't think going into last season, a lot of the talk was that Tom Brady was going to be down because he eclipsed the magic number of 40. Obviously he was the MVP last season, and didn't take a step back. And so we'll see what happens this year. I think there is more optimism going into this season regarding Tom Brady's age. A lot of people don't seem to think that will be a huge factor, not quite as much as they did last season. But yeah, I mean, their wide receivers are not great, but we'll see if Brady can make it work. They do play, like I said, in a weak division. I don't see any of the other 3 teams really making a push for the division win. So I do see the Patriots at 11-5. They do take a step back from last year. But I do have them at 11-5, winning the AFC East, but placing second or third in the AFC. Probably second in the AFC playoff picture. Their schedule is favorable, the Patriots. They only have 2 tough road games. I mentioned the week 2 at Jacksonville and week 15 at Pittsburgh. I really do feel like that week 15 matchup against Pittsburgh will decide who's first place in the AFC. I really do. I think the Steelers will win that game. And ultimately win the AFC, the first place in the AFC. But I do think that's going to be the biggest game of the season for both teams. I think that will decide the AFC. They also play a lot of their tougher games at home. The Texans, Chiefs, Packers, Colts, and Vikings are all at home, so they get a little bit of a break there. So a pretty favorable schedule for the Patriots. So 11-5 for them. Moving on, the Jets. Kind of a surprise pick here. I'm going with the Jets for second place in the division. That's right, the New York Jetropolitans. Don't hate me. The Jets. 9-7 for the Jets in the playoff hunt. I think they'll be right there. AFC's a little bit down this year in general. I think 9-7 could be enough to get them in the playoffs. I don't think you'll have to have 10 wins to get into the playoffs in the NFC. Or sorry, the AFC. Excuse me, the AFC. I think 9-7 could get you in. Maybe even 8-8. That's a stretch. But I do think you can get in with 9 wins in the AFC. I love Sam Darnold. I love him. I think he should have been the number 1 pick. I think he'll be a franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. I really do. I think he's got the body for it. I think he's got the maturity for it. I think he's got the attitude for it. I really like Sam Darnold and the way that he's composed himself since he's kind of come into the national spotlight as a starter at USC. I think he will ultimately start. I don't know if he'll start week 1. It's kind of leaning towards that, and it's certainly possible. And I think I think the best chance for the Jets is if they sit Sam Darnold for at least half the season. I don't know that there's that big of a rush to get Sam Darnold into action. They have 2 capable quarterbacks, in Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. I think it would be more prudent for them to maybe start Teddy Bridgewater, and solely for the fact that they can show off Teddy Bridgewater, parade him around, show that he's healthy, and then flip him for a piece at the trade deadline. I really think that would be the most prudent play for the Jets. And then say week 7, week 8, week 6 maybe, start Sam Darnold. After you've traded Teddy Bridgewater for maybe some skill guys or something like that, some offensive linemen or pass rusher, I think that would be the most prudent play for the Jets. Now, I don't think that that's what they're going to do. I think Sam Darnold will start week 1. I do. But I think they will have benefited if he waits at least half a season. But I think he will start week 1. The Jets lost a lot of close games last season. It was oddly bizarre. They lost like 5 or 6 one-possession games last year. I think with a better quarterback in Sam Darnold, I think they will win a few more of those games this year. That bizarre loss to the Patriots last year. They had the Patriots. Don't forget, they had the Patriots on the rope last season, on the ropes. And then they had that weird goal line play with the tight end and the touchback rule, how he bobbled it going into the end zone, and that whole nonsense, which has changed this year. That rule has changed this year, which is good. So they had the Patriots on the ropes last year, so it could be a very interesting matchup this season. They'll play the Patriots in week 12 and in week 17. So really interesting tough stretch there for the Jets. They do play the Patriots in week 12 after a bye. So that will be really interesting as well. It is at home. Like I said, their schedule is pretty workable as well for the Jets. They do get a lot of their tougher games at home. They play the Broncos, the Colts. They play the Vikings at home. They play the Texans and the Packers at home. All those games are at home, which is a really favorable, kind of a workable schedule there for the Jets. They do only have a few tough road games. They do play the Jaguars on the road and the Titans on the road. But that's really their only, other than the Patriots in their division, those are the really only 2 tough kind of out-of-division games for the Jets. So I think they could get a lot better this year as well. Like I said, they do get that extra week to prepare for the Patriots off of bye week, which will obviously be a huge help for the Jets Really interesting. That Week 12 matchup is really interesting to me. Really, really intriguing to me. Next up, I have the Dolphins coming in at third place in the AFC East. I don't really know what the Dolphins are. I really, really don't. They lost a lot of their good players in the offseason. A few of their Pro Bowlers. Jarvis Landry was lost to the Browns. The All-Pro center Mike Pouncey to the Chargers. And Ndamukong Suh to the LA Rams. And then don't forget, last season, mid-season, they traded Jay Ajayi to the Eagles. So they lost a lot of their Pro Bowl caliber guys last either off season or during the season in Jay Ajayi to the trade. Now they do get Ryan Tannehill back from the ACL injury, but let's not forget who Ryan Tannehill is. I mean, people keep saying Ryan Tannehill is coming back for the Dolphins, but let's not forget who he is. I mean, it's Ryan Tannehill. What is he? I mean, is he decent? I mean, he might be decent at best. And who knows what we'll get from him, what they'll get from him after the injury when he comes back from that ACL. So they're really intriguing to me. I just don't know what they are, the Dolphins. I have them at 6-10 out of the playoffs. I just don't know with them. They have a really tough schedule as well. Kind of opposite to the Jets' schedule. The Jets had a lot of their hard, tough games at home. It's the opposite for the Dolphins. They have a lot of their tough games on the road. Texans, Packers, Colts, and Vikings all on the road. The second half of their season is very difficult. Beginning in Week 10, they play at the Packers, at the Colts, play the Bills in Week 13, and then they finish the season home versus the Patriots, at the Vikings, home versus the Jaguars, and then at the Bills. So I don't really know what they will be. I mean, I could see them losing every one of their last 10 games. I really could. Other than maybe Week 13, home versus the Bills. Week 17, though, on the road at the Bills, a warm weather team playing in December 30th at the Bills. Forget about it. So that one, they are one of the tougher ones to pin down. But I do have them at 6-10 out of the playoffs. And last but not least, the Bills I have coming in fourth place in the AFC East at 4-12, well out of the playoffs. Josh Allen is a huge question mark to me. He was one of the players who was thought that could maybe go first overall to the Browns. He's a huge question mark. I don't know what he is or what he will be in the NFL. Of the first round quarterbacks taken, of the 5, he's perhaps the least skilled of all of them. And I like Josh Allen. I think he could work in this league, but he's one of those players that I feel like would really benefit from sitting behind a veteran quarterback for a year or two, a la Aaron Rodgers, and things like that. Now, he's not Aaron Rodgers, don't get me wrong, but I think he could benefit from doing what Aaron Rodgers did and sitting behind Brett Favre. But he won't have that luxury. He'll be the starter week 1, but I don't think he's ready for it. I don't think he will be able to perform at the level that they'll need him to perform this season. Like I said, he's one of the more least skilled of the 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. He's struggling in his first preseason game. He kind of struggled, and those games are usually against backup players. And so I don't really know what we're going to get out of him this season. And I just don't think the Bills have the talent to do what they did last year, which was make the playoffs. So they'll be 4-12 this season. Their schedule is really tough as well. The first 8 weeks of their schedule are incredibly difficult. I could see them going 1-7, if not 0-8. Honestly, they have a brutal opening schedule. At the Ravens, here's their first eight games. At the Ravens, home versus the Chargers, at the Vikings, at the Packers, home versus the Titans, at the Texans, at the Colts, and home versus the Patriots. Just brutal. Really, really tough. And I don't think they'll be able to overcome that. I couldn't even see them going 4-4. I really couldn't. I mean, 4-4 would be the best possible scenario, and I don't think they can get anywhere close to that. They maybe could squeak out 2 wins, but it's going to be very tough. I could see them going 1-7 or 0-8, and I think by that point, the season will be clearly lost, and I don't see them pulling themselves out of that cellar. So 4-12 for the Bills. Just recap, Patriots will win the AFC East 11-5. They will be second place in the AFC to the Steelers. The Jets at 9-7. They will be in the playoff hunt. The Dolphins at 6-10 out of the playoffs, and the Bills at 4-12. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Nail in the Coffin podcast. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe down below. Make sure you tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more Nail in the Coffin podcasts. I'm Drayson Ball. I'll see you later.